What's up, everybody? My name's Mike Sjogren, here with my co-host,
Emmanuel Pani.
We're part of a group of specialized real estate investors you've probably never heard of.
We didn't start with deep pockets or wealthy families, and we don't rely on 401ks, mutual funds, or traditional real estate investing.
In fact, many of us don't even own the properties that fund our freedom. If you ask the money experts out there, they'd say what we do is impossible, yet it's happening every single day.
It's happening through a new niche called short-term rentals.
We are Short-Term Rental Nation, and these are our secrets. What's going on, STR Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sjogren, here with my main man and brother from another mother, Mr. Emmanuel Pani. What's up, E?
My brother, so good to see you. Man, it's almost the end of May. I don't know what's going on.
Dude, the last 2 months have been like a blur.
Like a rocket ship too. I'm like, I just and like I feel bad because we had friends over for dinner yesterday, and I made the joke. I'm like, yeah, we're actually looking to trim down our friend group because there's just too many people to commit to, and like I don't know where to go. And like Tasha kind of like got like awkwardly red in the corner. She's like, why is he saying stuff like that? But it's true, bro. Like I feel like I don't have any time to do anything anymore. Yeah, at the same time, this is kind of like the life that I've always wanted. You know, like I remember being little and seeing my dad always on the phone, always like working and doing things and answering clients. And I was like, I can't wait to be like that. And it's just literally like, I'm that now. And I'm like, oh shit, I should have like looked at some other kind of example in my life. Maybe I had like an aunt that like drew and did art instead. And I would have been like, better that way. But like
a great artist, you got the hair for it. Like,
yeah, bro. But you see me draw, and it's just like, what kind of mental trauma did this kid go through? Yes, yeah. I'm Picasso at the end of his time, like when he was going cuckoo. No, bro. But life is good. We're still doing the same things. Like we've been really working hard to like get a hospitality asset on the contract, and we're getting very. It's just been difficult to get the facts from the sellers, especially if there's more than one seller involved. Number two, it's been difficult to get sellers to negotiate on any kind of reasoning that it's not what they think their property is worth.
Yeah.
And a lot of like just super shady just numbers, right? Like we were looking at that place that I sent you guys.
Yeah.
Gorgeous laundry room. Like I was in love with the laundry room.
It's funny in that boardroom chat, like, where
everybody was geeking. Everybody was geeking. Like anybody that like, yeah, dude, like once you get to the certain size, you like really start appreciating like the operational things. And I walked into this laundry room and they had multiple like industrial machines and this huge thing to like put the sheets through and like just press them. And I was just, what a dream, right? But those people, we like submit an LOI and they're like, we're not going to give you financials until you submit an LOI. And we're like, okay, we'll submit an LOI. And then they send the financials and it's like 6 months worth of financials. I'm like, where is the rest of this? It's like, well, no, you have to agree to like accept these before we share the rest with you. We're like, no.
Do you sign an NDA?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, no. We're not doing any of that anymore. So it's just very shady. And the realtors or the brokers in this case, you really don't know what side they're on. Like even your own broker, especially when you meet brokers through like networking and stuff, they're not seasoned people that you've worked with in the past. You're really like, where is your loyalty? You know what I mean? So it's very difficult to even know like how to negotiate in that case because you lose that, like it's a key component. Like having a good broker or good realtor makes a difference in like how you negotiate things and everything else. And not having that for us has been interesting, but the grant, like we want it, like, you know what I mean? So like we're going at it.
Yeah, got it.
Lots of LOIs. So if you are in a similar space, you're submitting lots of LOIs or offers, just don't worry about it and don't make anything work. But also like really like the other like reason why is because like both John and I are like, we're not squeezing into anything that doesn't fit. Like, we're like Cinderella at the dance, right? Like unless the slipper fits in perfectly, I'm not walking a half a mile on a pair of shoes that are not my size. Like it's just like it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like it's not worth it. So like Cinderella, we might need some time to find our property, you know. How your rent is going well?
Yeah, we got all the rough signed off. We should have the building rough signed off, I think today or tomorrow, which is huge. So we can start closing up all the walls, start getting tile in, start putting in some flooring in some of the sample rooms. It's getting exciting now. You know,
yeah, that's exciting.
Like doing a lot of that stuff. So that's moving along really well. We got the green light to add 8 more rooms up in Rockport. So
nice, congrats!
Super pumped for that. Now, got to put the pro formas together and go back to the bank and get more money to do that. But that'll be a project in the fall. We'll go through the season and then we'll probably close a little early, like November, and then start the massive reno project over there.
Yeah.
Speaking of laundry, I had to upgrade one of our commercial dryers over there, which, you know, it sucks. They're not cheap, but, you know, needed to be done. So the team is very happy that we've got a new team that functions properly. So that's good. By the time this podcast airs, it's a definite go for the new house too. So my money goes fully hard tomorrow when all the NHTs are up. So that's a done deal. So super pumped for that. About to
exciting
to move to the ocean finally. It's been a long time coming. Okay. So
amenity. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
No, I like to look at the sea. I don't want to be.
I
just like
the sea. So, man, good stuff. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. The house looks great on you guys.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be another project, but we're excited for it, man. And
life is full of projects.
Yeah.
Now you get bored. Or at least our kind of people get bored.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of our kind of people, we've got a lights out guest today that I'm super pumped for. He is a member in the mastermind, total badass. He might have a cooler podcast set up than me, quite frankly, but I won't hold that against him. So today on the show, we've got Drew Hittner with us, and pretty crazy backstory to Drew. So he had a brain tumor show up after a car accident, and it just changed how he looked at life. He's been an Airbnb superhost since 2016, and he loved it so much that he got into the STR Airbnb specific lending with the motto of don't roll the dice if your lender isn't an Airbnb superhost. So his favorite thing about what he does is helping people that are too lazy to underwrite their own numbers so they can avoid a landmine or negative cash flowing property. So Drew, welcome to the show, man.
Mike's got the man. Look at you. You see, you guys exist. I'm sure Mike has a full bunch of like ways he feels about you analyzing deals for people and then them not learning how to do it themselves. But for those of us that need people like you, I'm waving an appreciative kind of flag before Mike chews you up if that happens. But I just wanted you to know.
Thank you for the introduction. And Mike, congratulations on being under contract, man. It's exciting times for you.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Thank you. So bring us back, man. I mean, I gave like the 30,000 foot Cliff Notes version. So walk us back to how all this started.
So before I was in real estate, the lending side or the hosting side, I did medical device and work in all the shifts, call, weekends, holidays, everything. And I worked for Biomet, and we were acquired by Zimmer. So we, total hips, total knees, all that kind of stuff, right? So just wearing scrubs all the time. And when we were acquired, I took a pay cut. And I didn't know my own personal numbers at the time, but I realized I was going to have to start pulling money from an IRA, 401k, or ask, mom at the time what I should do. And that's just when I started listening to podcasts, reading books. And I just remember Googling side gig income. And my truck wasn't going to work on Uber, but I saw Airbnb post up. So that's the route I went. And at that time, I was living in Indiana, and I'm like, man, there is one listing within like a 10-mile radius. I'm like, I'm just going to give it a shot. I'm going to go stay the weekend with my girlfriend at the time, see what happens. Well, that one weekend paid like half my rent. And so that was the hook. And then at that point, I just fell in love with real estate so much. I just wanted to read, do, ask, find mentors, all that kind of stuff. And knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have flipped my type of line of work that I was in, because then that caused me not to qualify for a traditional loan. But I went right into lending because I was just hooked. I'm like, this is, I can't believe how easy it is to make money doing this. But I went into lending, and, basically I was 1099. So I was self-employed. So I didn't qualify for any good mortgages for a couple of years. Then I bought my first house hack in Phoenix, and it's been a fun ride since then.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It works at the bank. They don't let you, through any loopholes of the 2 years if you work at a bank.
I wish.
What made you fall into lending? Because there's a lot of people that kind of like say like, oh, I love real estate. I don't know a lot of people that say I love real estate and choose to get into lending, especially coming from like a medical background. Like why that versus, like I'm gonna be a flipper or I'm gonna be a realtor. And like if there's people that are like I don't want to be a realtor or a flipper, what's been good about being a lender?
So the one thing that I still really, really enjoy is every loan is a snowflake. So it's just like you're doing a new puzzle almost every time. Everybody has just a different scenario that you could possibly look at. And so that's the thing that drew me to that. And I just had a couple friends that were working for like a big shop, Loan Depot at the time. And I just had more friends in that business. And they're like, dude, I'm sitting in a cubicle. Check out this, like literally would send me a screenshot. Like, look at this check I just made. I'm like, doing that? And I just didn't have a lot of real estate agent friends at the time killing it. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to go do that.
You got it. Makes sense.
Show his money.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and it's also like shows you like how your friend group influences that. Right. Because I'm like, I don't have any friends there. Like I have one friend that is a lender, but he wasn't a lender when I got into real estate. All of my people were either like GC contractors, realtor, property managers. You know what I mean? So I'm like, that's the people you have. So you already mentioned a couple different spots around the country. So like, where are you based in, and where are all your properties now?
Yeah. So my office is in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay.
We're licensed in 50 states, depending on what loan bucket you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the homes that I have flipped, long-term rented or short-term rented, are either in Arizona, Indiana, and my most recent one is in Florida. And then we're under contract and still doing due diligence on a property in Pennsylvania, which is 149 site RV park.
Interesting. How did you fall into an RV park? Like, was that by accident or?
Kind of, yeah. So I had.
How the fuck do you fall into 140 lot RV park by accident? You're like fucking hiking in the woods of Pennsylvania. You're like, oh look, a for sale sign. There you go. You
would feel like most of the owners for that asset class are probably in the woods somewhere. There's a lot of mom and pop action in that asset class. And that's it's a thing that I don't love when it comes to like underwriting the deal, because their bank statements don't match their P&Ls and their P&Ls don't match their tax returns. Right. So it's like, you almost have to look at this for me is like, okay, so if I just lipstick and Band-Aid this thing, what is the NOI going to be? Because I know in that area, it's about a 7.8 cap on an exit. So, but how we found it was just a local meetup that set me up with a friend, now a friend. And he kind of does like, so he's a wholesaler in the Pittsburgh area. And just one of his other investors found this deal, pass it along to him. And it's kind of the creative finance wave has been pretty big the last year or so with, I know Pace and a lot of other guys talk about it a lot. And that's what kind of gained my excitement is 10% down, completely seller held, 50-year AM at a 2.75 interest rate.
I just saw a post from Tony that we just had on the show with a sign. Did you see it? With the signs like bring back the 3% interest rates. Which like I'm like, but that's why you need to do the seller stuff now, because like those rates are insane. Like I'm like, there's no like you can't talk to as a lender even you can't go to any bank and be like, yo buddy, like you know me. Like can we do this for even
as we were talking
4%?
We were talking about getting approved for that addition, and my partner just texted me 6.5
interest rate.
Yeah.
So that makes a big fucking difference. So how do you do, because to me what you said about the fact that there's no concrete numbers and there's a lot of discrepancy, for me has always been like a good thing, right? Because I'm like, it means that like they're not super dialed in, they're not running it well, so chances are I can run it better. But I also never thought about the other side of it, of you being like, I don't have actual real things, right? Real data. How do you underwrite that? So if you have somebody that's listening to the show now, there's like, I have somebody that my grandpa knows that owns a lot just like that. And they'll probably sell it to me. But he has everything on, like, he gave me a little post-it with his expenses on it. What do I do? Because to me, I'm like, there is fucking money to be made there. But for you, you're like, fuck, I don't know how to underwrite this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where do you start?
So just trying to lean on more people. Kyle's been super helpful. I've been able to, Mike's given me some advice. I'm speaking about some members in our group here with STR Secrets, and just trying to figure out the industry standard. Like once you kind of get the cap rate figured out in that area, I kind of work backwards from there. Like, what are the competition doing? Looks like we're under, we're renting now, looks like a little bit under market. And whenever he wants to rent seasonality rates, it's by the phone and it's on a piece of paper. Like there's major efficiency issues in the business. He's got enough propane there to sell locally, not just to the park. So there's like, there's some room. And then it's 40 acres and 10 of that is very, very, well, we think it's very easily developable, or we can develop that very easily. Some of the due diligence that we're working on, I don't know when this is going to air, but as we speak, is like trying to figure out if we add 50 sites, what are we going to have to do to the infrastructure like sewage and electric to make sure we can get the power and create that infrastructure to know that our build out at hopefully about $10,000 per site is achievable. Because if it goes up to 80,000 per site, might not be a great deal.
And you have no experience in like developing an RV park. So for you, it's very much more of a like who know how.
Exactly. So like my experience prior to this is 2 BRRRRs and 1 out-of-state flip. So doing one of these projects out of state, I'm not a stranger to, but at this size, it's new to me. So, but we got a 45-day inspection period or due diligence period. And I think that's going to help us, kind of set our ducks up. But, we're under rented. We got a possibility to add sites and then just adding some easy technology to allow for online bookings. I think our occupancy percentage based on what we're figuring is a little low too. So I just feel like there's so many income streams on this property that we can add to that we're going to be able to push the valuation up pretty quickly. And then, there's oddball things too. So like if you just put some glamping areas there that I believe based on, data aggregators like AirDNA, they should make $35,000 annually. But we write that to $25,000, right? So just being very conservative with our numbers with a 50% expense ratio, which could be a little high for that asset class, but just add a little bit more just in case. And if it still looks good, then, kind of keep digging through the due diligence.
So you asked me what to do on last Tuesday's call, and I told you to go buy that person's course. Because I was like, who do you know that's doing it? He's like, well, I know this person that has a course for like $2,000. I'm like, dude, go buy that now. Hang up and go buy that course. Like, if you want to do this, I'm all about like you said, the who, not how. Like, if somebody's done this and executed it well, like that information is so valuable. Like I look at everything as compressing time. So if I can pay $2,000, that's going to save me 2 weeks of my time. That's worth it all day. Like, it's not even close.
Yeah,
it's funny.
That really helped us with the exit plan decision. Like, hey, do we want this to be a long-term park, like a man camp park, or like, do we want this to be a short-term park because it butts up to a national park forest, right? So it's like the revenue is in the short-term stuff, but we just want to make sure that if we do fully short-term, that doesn't maroon us with a ton of seasonality. So that's some of the stuff that I picked up in that course that we thought would be the next best move.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So let's pull back towards the STR side of the house, because this is super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But you got your first deal in 2016. You've done a bunch of different stuff now. What does your current portfolio look like now? And then I know you just got a random RV park under contract, but like, what's your portfolio look like now? What's your strategy going forward, and why?
So it's been compressing my time too, like you mentioned. So I've had up to 14, but the deals that were thumbtacks, turning over cleaners, maybe losing a VA, things that weren't just as rock solid as some of my other deals and that I didn't really enjoy going to, I just got rid of those. Mm-hmm. So, and the reason I did, but I have 7 listings across 3 states, Arizona, Indiana, and Florida. But when I've compressed that time, I've been able to, there was some proceeds because of that. And I've been able to use that to invest into the brokerage side of things, because I figured out, like, there's a lot of people that know I've been doing this for a long time, and they just, they have a conversation with a waiter or an Uber driver about Airbnb and they want to buy something. I'm like, you guys realize if it's a negative 5% interest rate, it still doesn't pencil out for you. And so I just tried to niche down and like being able to help people understand that just because they read something in the news doesn't mean it's a great idea to invest in it. And just build your pillars. Find a course, find an agent, find a lender, find a title company, and just, find people that you can trust around you. And that's one thing I just wanted to give back on, right? I want my time back, because I don't know how much time I had at one point whenever I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so I want to be able to focus on the things that drive me. And I like building puzzles. I like spending time with my family, and I like using the Airbnbs that I have or short-term rentals that I have to spend some time on vacation with the family.
The whole brain tumor situation, I want to talk about that a little bit, because I know for me, some of the most challenging and emotional times of my life tend to catapulted me into a different trajectory in my life. So what was that like going for you? And I'd imagine it kind of changes your whole perception of the world, but I've never been in that situation, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. So the diagnosis is called an acoustic neuroma. Just like what the Super Bowl winning quarterback from a couple years ago, Matt Stafford's wife had, right? Only difference between me and her, well, a couple things is the bank account won, but it's not something that can be totally crippling. Like, I still like to play golf. I got a little bit of hearing loss, but just depends. Like, so we're kind of in a watch and wait. But man, I was in a car accident. I had, that's how I found out, and I just hit my head pretty good. So of course they do an MRI, and then that news came, and I didn't know. The doctor that told me didn't really know anything about it. So there's a little fear there. But that the reason that catapulted me is because there's a big why. Like, how do I get some of my time back and just truly, be involved in the things that I feel like move the needle, and that doesn't happen for everyone, but I feel like if everybody looked hard enough, they can find a why. And mine was just being able to spend the time with the people that I wanted to. And you don't know. I don't think it's going to kill me anytime soon. I feel really good. It's not restricting my life now, but it could later. And so that's why I'm in, an organized rush to try to achieve the goals that I've set out for myself and bring those timelines a little bit closer to the chest to see if we can't get them done sooner.
I love an organized rush. That's such a beautiful way to it's such a beautiful way to describe it, right? It's just this. And now the sign makes a little bit more sense behind you, right? Like it's very interesting. One, I'm always impressed because I always think that I have a good headspace and mindset, but I'm also very, very wary of how blessed and fortunate I've been in my life. And for me to witness somebody that it's really like that in the moment that shit actually hits the fan, it makes a difference, right? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I was going to ask about your mindset when you were talking about jumping from whatever you've been doing to this 140 lot thing. So it's just there's a lot of I don't know. I wanted to kind of ask what are your, I have little things that I say to myself, right? One of my things is the universe is rigged in my favor, and one of my reminders always life is always happening for me and never to me. Do you have things like that you've kind of been going through and kind of saying to yourself, you're dude, this is that?
Yeah. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen that hasn't already happened? That's just to keep a little silver lining on the thought process. It's there's obviously things that could happen, but it's just let's look at it. And, specifically to the RV park is I had 2 silly goals that I know would simple goals, but I know because I'm in 2 businesses that are pretty close to each other, investment side of real estate and then the lending side. So my one goal on the lending side is do 1 reel a day and put it out all year and just see what happens with the business. I believe that is a good marketing strategy. And then on the investment side, it's take down or try like hell to take down a commercial deal this year. And so halfway through the year, and I'm on pace to complete both of those. And so, I just try to set little small goals that I think aren't going to be easily achieved in 30 days. Right. And so that way I'm always chasing, the carrot, so to speak.
Consistency is king. I just did a webinar right before we jumped on talking about how to get your first or your next co-host deal. And that was the theme that I kept telling everybody because they're well, how long does it take to get a deal? And I was well, I know the numbers in our group, it's 41 days. But the real way that you should frame that in your head is until I get a deal. I'm not going to stop until I get a deal. It's just that persistence and that organized rush that you talk about, that I'm going to give this everything I have until I get a deal. Otherwise, you're almost leaving that latch open for that, escape hatch before you even start. You just got to commit to something and stay with it long enough and the results will follow. It's inevitable.
Well, Mike, I'm extremely thankful for one thing in the mastermind, man. That's just if I can always just pick up one little nugget, this has changed my life. It's the time study. I mean, I will complete that and I'll save those things, man. Sorry, I almost cussed there, but I don't know if that's allowed, but, I'll go back and look at those. And I've applied some of it to the short-term rental, but just my lending business, I go, damn, on that delegation doc, I was I literally got all of these knocked out. I'm how powerful was that? And then I'll do it again. Now I'm on my 4th time. So it's just all right, now I'm really stretching on what I'm writing down on there, but that's what makes it, because every 15 minutes, if you're writing that down, that's kind of an organized rush. So it's you got to rush to document or you're going to miss it. And then you're going to lose that time. And if you just work hard now, it's going to save everyone time later.
What was it? I think it's 18 minutes a day. Like I think 18 minutes a day for an extended amount of time makes you like an expert, like who puts you in the top 90%. If you can do 18 minutes every day for a year, and it's so fucking hard, right? Like it's something stupid. Like you spend 18 minutes every day doing stupid shit all the time. And for you to purposely do something. So like there's two things, right? For me, purposely do something for 18 minutes. And then is the levels of learning. What was the thing? You remember, Mike, the thing that like
I remember the
out,
video.
like right, like competently incompetent and everything else. But like I love learning new things, but I need to feel by the end of the first session that I do that I have somehow improved. And this is my like sick like mindset about like how life should be, right? So like physical things, I can do that all the time. Try to learn how to play the piano, bro. That thing makes me so mad because I'm like, it's simple. It's 3 buttons. And then I find myself like looking at my hands and trying to understand and like just, I'm like, bro, it's 3 buttons. Like, I'm like, what is your problem? And they're just like, but you have to go through that moment of being like, okay, this sucks. I'm going to come back tomorrow. And then tomorrow sucks a little bit less. And then this sucks. I'm going to come back tomorrow. It sucks a little bit less. Because like the reality of the time study to me is also the fact that you're like, a lot of the times, maybe at the beginning, especially, you are not able to delegate it to somebody else. And so you have to be aware of it. And you like have to be like, how do I fix it? Like, how do I still fix this? Right? Like if this is something that like I can't delegate just yet, because the easiest answer would be to hire somebody out. I can't. I fucking hate doing it. So like, how do you do it? Like for me, like heavy things, like math things, financial things, I have to do them first thing in the morning. I'm not in a position that I can like delegate them yet. I don't trust anybody like that much yet. And I know myself, if it's not in my like deep work hours, that my like 6-7 o'clock to like 9:30 a.m. like work window, I do them out for no, there's no fucking way. And so it's in learning, like, you know, the time schedule, yes. Time study, yes. And then you're just like, oh, fuck. This thing drains me. Where can I put it? That it drains me a little bit less. Where is it a little bit easier? And then where can I get rid of it on this side?
The word that you use all the time, E, and I think this is the biggest benefit I got when I first started doing it, was being mindful. Like it just makes you aware of like, wow, I didn't even realize I was spending this much time doing these things, because you just get caught up in the repeat of the day to day. Then you look on it and you review it and you're like, holy shit, I spent this much time doing these things that I thought I wasn't spending that much time on. And it just really makes you mindful of where your time is going. And then you can be intentional with changing that, whether it's with delegation or just prioritizing other things on top of that.
Yeah. Awesome. So before we go into our last thing, there was a little story that you were sharing with us at the beginning that I just want you to kind of share with everybody listening. Because again, like it sounds crazy, but like I have a similar story to what you're about to share. So it's not a one-off, like it's things that do happen, right? So you were telling us that you found a house that you bought for how much? And appraisals for how much?
So
please stop. People sit down, please. If you're driving, like, and you live in like California, places like this, please, it's okay. Just breathe.
So I lived in Arizona for like 12 years, but I'm from Southern Indiana originally, Evansville. And I know AirDNA has put out like, oh, it's a hot market. I think just a few months ago, they had some article that went out about it. And so I think I read a book about the Burr method, and I'm like, well, I could probably do this. Let me just mess around. I'm looking at 2 markets, Southern Indiana and Phoenix. And Phoenix is where I lived at the time. I just happened to see a deal that was for sale for $13,000. When I called him, he spoke all Spanish, but I was able to use Google Translator to finally get his girlfriend on the phone. And then I just Googled a sales contract. I don't know if it was void by the time we closed or not, but I Googled a sales contract and sent that over to the girlfriend. We got it signed and said, okay, there's an inspection period of 12 days. I never even saw the house. I had a contractor take a look at it. Then I counter offered him to $8,900, which he accepted. And it took us about 3.5 months to finish the rehab after closing. and we put about 28,000 or so into it. And I listed it on Airbnb because I didn't like my long-term manager at the time in that area, and does about 33K top line a year, excluding cleaning fees. And the appraiser came in there and said, this thing is worth 150. And I just couldn't believe it. It was the perfect infinity, burr basically. So I'm like, well, I'll be damned. So what I'll do is I'll just pay myself back, right? For the cash that I put into the remodel and all that. But I'm going to take another 40,000 out just because. And I'm going to use that for a down payment, which is what I did, or do whatever you want. That's tax-free income or proceeds, right? And so that's when I saw the power of that. And, if you could do something different, I probably would have just kept spending time doing a wholesale or a burr or whatever. But I just, basically rates were really low then. So then I just really, really focused on the lending business. 2 businesses at one time, and I probably should have focused on one thing at that point until one of the businesses was a little bit more delegated. But I still have it in the portfolio today.
Love it.
That's
Well, before we get into
amazing.
the question, I want to just thank you for coming on here, getting vulnerable and sharing some personal stuff. I appreciate that, and I think the listeners will appreciate that. But 2, just want to say, it's been really cool watching you evolve, and now you're just exploring some of these monster commercial deals and just seeing you play full out every week. Like, you're active in the mastermind, you're always asking questions, you're giving value where you can. It's just one of the things I'm most proud of is just the amazing community of people that we have, and I'm glad that you're one of them. And so thank you for that. So where can folks learn more about you and your different businesses, the properties and the lending side?
Yeah. So on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, right? It's all at Drew Do Loans. And I'm still working on the channels in there. We got some nano accounts, but just trying to stay involved with education and a little bit of satire at the same time. So
love it. And then finally, what is your number one secret to success with short-term rentals?
Consistency, man. Whenever I got into this, I was a 6-year college dropout, and I had to do a lot of things a lot of times to get average at it. And so if you're looking at deals, just underwrite the same deal multiple different times. And then if you do 3 deals, 2 deals a day, you're going to eventually find something. The hunt may be a little bit more barren today than it was 6 years ago, but consistency.
Love it. Well, Drew, thank you again for coming on here, man. Really appreciate you. And the listeners out there, hope you guys got some nuggets out of this one. And we will see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.
Ciao, guys.
Hey, STR Nation, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. And in the comments, let us know what topics you want us to cover on upcoming episodes, and we'll make sure to get that in the books for you. And if you really want to learn how to launch, automate, and scale your short-term rental business, if you want to go deeper, then check out our free masterclass at strsecrets.com.